jingle bells, we like reading books. Well,
Yes, we certainly do.
Oh,
And welcome to our holiday special, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary friends, to borrow from a favorite YouTube channel of mine. Shout out to Smosh, I guess. But this is the holiday special for the 800's. As per usual, you have your co-host, myself, my fellow co-host, Adam, and out from behind the scenes, we have our third co-host, Alan. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
they don't let me out of my cage.
That's not true. We let him out once a day
Yes, sir.
for 5 minutes to read.
to read. That's right, just to read. Get out. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Oh man.
So why don't we
All
get
right,
into our
well.
plugs then?
Oh, sure. So, welcome to the 800s. If you've found this, then you are either a patron. Thank you so much. If you're not a patron, go over to patreon.com/DM's Table to find out more about how you can help support the show and support DM's Table and all the cool things we do over here at DM's Table. If you somehow find this on the internet, we've got a YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, check out at DM's Table. We are over there. We are doing all sorts of nerdy videos and book reviews like our normal show does, and things like that. You can check us out on Etsy as well. We sell nerd memorabilia over there on Etsy. You can check that out at dmstable.com/Etsy. Let's see. You can check us out on our our socials on Facebook at the DM Stable and on Twitter at DM Stable, or X, I guess it's called. I'll never get used to that. And hit us up on our socials for access to an exclusive Discord where you can chat with us three and all of our friends of the show and the friends of Roll with Advantage. We're all in that Discord. Check us out. Yeah, why don't we get into what the show's about?
Yeah, so this is the 800s holiday edition. It's a little different than usual. Instead of reviewing one book and discussing with chat, we're just going to talk amongst ourselves about our least preferred book, an honorable mention, and our most favorite book that we've talked about this year on the show. We'll just bounce around between each other and talk about what's great, what's not so great, and what was pretty good but not quite the top of the list.
That's right.
With that though, why don't we get a disclaimer? That,
This might be a holiday.
Usual.
Yeah, this might be a holiday special, but the same rules do apply. We're trying to create a fun and supportive environment. Also, while we don't swear too much and we do cover adult topics, that sort of thing happens. So bring kids around at your own discretion, I guess. But overall, just in the spirit of the holidays, be nice or fuck off.
Yep.
Really thought you were gonna go with a burn in hell option there with the fire in the background.
That's why this actually you gotta leave something for subtext,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
With
man.
that, why don't we jump into the meat of the show and start talking about books. Alex, why don't you start us off? Your least favorite, or least or less favorite than others book. What do you got?
Are we starting with me or with Alan? My apologies. My audio crapped
Alex.
out for a second there.
Yeah.
With
All
you.
right.
Or is
So,
Alex?
All A
so
names.
this one, I think, I mean, not just because we had a smaller amount of books, but we had like some really good suggestions this year. This one was the toughest for me because I'm fighting like quality of book versus like sentimental value. And so for both the best and least best, um, I think the least best for me was probably Happy Place. Happy Place was the one that we did for our summer beach read. It's written by Emily Henry, and the basic synopsis is Harriet and Wynne have been a perfect couple since they met in college. They go together like salt and pepper, honey and tea, lobster and rolls, except now, for reasons they're still not discussing, they don't. They broke up 5 months ago and still haven't told their best friends, which they find themselves sharing a bedroom at the main cottage that has been their friend group's yearly getaway for the last decade. And they try to hide the fact that their relationship is essentially over with, but along the way, they come to remember what they loved about each other and find a way to fight for the relationship. So, um, overall, not a bad message, but I think I got really caught up in some of the like terrible rom-com tropes. And this one in particular, the lack of communication about stuff. Like, it was just so overwhelmingly stupid in certain parts for me, like that you didn't just talk stuff out. And it felt less realistic and more like a plot device. I remember when we originally talked about this, Adam did bring up a good point in that the reasons for not talking about it rooted in certain traumas and the way that Harriet grows up. Does seem realistic from her end. What keeps it on the low end for me is it still doesn't make sense for me for Win. He has like I know this comp where
Whoop.
he fits in his family. Oh, did you
You're
lose me there
we
for a
got
second? Or
Yeah, we got your back.
where'd you lose me though?
Oh,
It was just a second.
yeah, you're good.
All right. So Win has a family where like he has this dynamic of like he doesn't feel good enough, but a lot of it is just dumb in the like he has every reason to talk to her about stuff, and
Yeah.
they give all these examples of like how she's different from like the other people that he usually dates, and how like he trusted her in certain ways that he never did. And like I don't know, when a whole book could be boiled down to like a 20-minute conversation that could have saved a lot of heartache and stuff, and especially when it gets played on over and over and over and over again, it's hard for me to sit with those and like be really into those books, which sucks because some of the imagery in the book is beautiful. It really is. Uh, like there's some really good like poetic phrasing, and describing emotions in particular is intense and well done. It's just so hard for me to get over that trope being used the way that it was. And like I have to get nitpicky about this stuff because it was a good year.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what put it just a bit lower than the rest for me. I'm going to pass it on then to Alan. What
Me.
was your least
Oh
best?
my gosh. I had such a hard time with picking my least favorite. So like you were saying, like it really came down to not even what I didn't like, but like what when I felt like didn't quite hit. the demographic it was targeting. Um, because knee-jerk reaction, I had Happy Place, I had uh, Harry Potter, and I had uh, How High We Go in the Dark as like in there. But unfortunately, all of those do a great job of targeting their demographic, except for How High We Go in the Dark. I feel like it was a really well done book, but I wasn't sure of the demographic, and so that's why I'm going to place that as my least favorite this year. I really did enjoy the book, and honestly, like if I wasn't going to pick it for my least favorite, it was going to be in my honorable mention. And the reason being is that, like, this book I still think about. So, the How High We Go in the Dark is about a alternate reality Earth where a body from thousands of years ago is uncovered in a permafrost, which unleashes a plague unlike what the world had experienced at the time. Uh, um, it goes through the years. The population of the world is decimated, and people are flung into all sorts of different situations, following many different characters, many families, and ultimately a two beings that kind of work their way between all of the stories. Um, I think the story is too convoluted. I think it is really, really highbrow and requires multiple reads in order for you to really pick up on the subtleties that are there. I think it's really well done and very like in depth and insightful. And it clearly was or at least I felt like it was clearly a healing book as a response to COVID. Um, and so I just feel like it missed its mark to a degree. Um, yeah, I I think it was a really tough time, but my other two picks or the other ones that were in the running here, I felt like they really targeted their demographics accurately, and I can't fault them for that. So yeah, yep, I had
Fair
how
assessment.
yeah. How about Adam?
Yeah, so mine, I'm gonna go with Less by Andrew Greer, a story about a failed novelist who's almost 50, going on essentially a world tour of accepted invitations to various events. Um, see Alan shaking his head like,
Keep
"How
going.
could you?" or
Keep
something.
going. Keep going. I want to hear it. Explain to me. Explain yourself, sir.
So for me, the story had a lot of really good elements that I want to talk about before I shit all over it. Um, so what I loved about this book is there were a ton of metaphors throughout the entire thing. In terms of writing, it was excellent. It really showed Greer's mastery over the ability to produce writing and a story. However, for me, it just wasn't interesting. It didn't grab my attention and make me want to know what was going to happen next. There was, in my opinion, a lack of coherent plot to the story, which is something that I find essential in a fiction story.
I could totally
So
see
yeah,
that.
it fell short.
Yeah, cause like if we look back at other books that you haven't liked, right? Like American Gods and stuff like that, it's that wandering plot that really disturbs you.
Yeah.
That makes
Which is
sense.
fair.
That is fair.
Like,
That is fair.
yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we've well established on this show.
Yeah.
Knows that like anything that suffers with plot is going to struggle, especially with Adam. Just like with me, if there's no character development, it's going to be, or if the character development is unbelievable, like that was my big hitch with Win, is that his character development is like, I don't know, feels a bit unrealistic given what we know. And, you know, Alan, I think you very much give the everyman answer to this. Like, well, like, does it hit the target demo?
Yeah.
Like, does it hit the way it's supposed to?
Yeah.
And I really like the way that we round each other out that way, which is like a nice little Christmas present to realize that.
Yeah, absolutely. I did forget, and I feel bad for it. I want to try and make sure that I am on top of it tonight. So, How High We Go in the Dark is by Sequoia Nagamatsu. So I wanted to make sure that I said the author's name. They deserve shout out. So, yeah. I I think and I think stop me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think for all of us this was probably a really tough choice. Would you say so too, Adam, or did you really
Yeah.
feel like less just didn't hit at all?
No, I mean all the books were pretty well received. I think there were definitely books in previous years where it was like, yeah, this sucks. This was a waste of however long it took me to get through it.
Gods of Jade and Shadow.
You know, even less, which I indicated was my least favorite book. I feel like I took something away from it that, I did enjoy it. It just wasn't something where I was like, man, that was, yeah, man, I want to read that again someday.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case for me. But
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Did you guys notice a trend this year? So I
In the books
in the
or in
books,
our
just in
responses? Or...
general, in general the books. So like I don't know. I'll go kind of first. I noticed that like a lot of our books this year were very uh neuro books. Like they were very thought-provoking books in my opinion. I don't know if you guys got the same vibe, but like Less was a very insightful book. Um uh Psalm of the Wild Built, very very insightful book. Um let's see. How High We Go in the Dark, massively insightful book. Like if we compare all of these books this year, there's a lot that are very like deep. I mean, granted, only did 12 books this year, but I would say probably half were fiction. If we're talking like food quality, like they were fiction steaks instead of fiction burgers, right? They both taste great, but one is less saturated fats.
I don't know. It
yeah,
depends
we
on what kind
definitely
of
had a
steak
good
you're
amount
eating.
of those.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think, more depth to more of the books percentage wise. I think if we were shoving twice as many in, you'd get more of the other kind. But like,
Maybe.
yeah, I think there's definitely more percentage wise that had a message that hit a little harder than average,
Yeah.
And honestly, one of the things I think is interesting is that like every book that you guys picked was on my like lower half.
Really?
So it makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
Like
That's
before we
awesome.
did this, I believe I told you guys that I kind of had an idea of what would be like the likely ones to pick,
Yeah.
and I had 4 books in mind, and we picked 3 of the 4. So, and
Yeah.
um, I think that kind of speaks to the quality. Like, I'm really interested to see, like, later on when we get to our favorites, which ones really top out there, because that's hard in a very different way.
Yeah.
um, and
Yeah.
but the thing is like, even as I know those things are on that slightly lower tier,
Hmm.
I would still put most of these books in like the top half of the ones that we read for the entire run of this show.
Yeah, absolutely. I would place these my lowest book, the How High We Go in the Dark. I would place it over some of my like middle of the pack books from previous years.
Yeah.
So I mean it
Yeah.
was really high quality, and I think to a degree that speaks to like the maturity of the show, the maturity of our audience. Like not maturity like I'm an adult, but it's like
Mature tastes.
the tastes are like we've gotten through a lot of the candy books, and now we're getting into like sushi.
The
You know?
average.
Yeah. I got a food thing tonight. I don't know what it is, but yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Adam, did you notice any trends of interest this year?
Um,
Way less Sanderson this year. Did we even read a
there's
Sanderson
yeah,
book this year?
there's no Sanderson books in the show this year.
Have we done our
Definitely
job?
honorable mentions.
I know.
Sanderson.
Yeah, well, I think having the side piece bit kind of took care of a lot of
Scratch
sand.
the Sanderson itch.
Yeah. I think we did a lot of Sandersons the last 2 years,
We
so
did.
it's good to take
Yeah.
a break from that. I think we definitely strayed away from the high epic category of fiction this year. I'd say superpowers might be in the high epic category, but everything else was less magic and knights and more real world fiction kind of a deal. Like obviously not real world because none of it's really real world. Like less probably is the closest to real world we get, but all the stuff is rooted in sort of our society, but with a twist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Ironically, probably the one that least fits that is the one that we're reading for December.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yep.
So it
Yep.
was there. It was just a little bit behind the times. Yeah,
Yep.
for those of you who are maybe catching this and don't know, our last book for the year is going to be The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. Um,
It should be we will have reviewed it by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Fair enough.
But
But
as
for
of,
those
as of
who
No,
right
that's fair.
now,
Yeah.
we haven't reviewed
for
it
those
yet.
of you who view the extra content before the main channel content,
That's right. That's right.
whatever psychopaths out there. No, I'm just kidding. Love to have you.
Uh, so what's your guys' honorable mentions? Why don't we start with Adam because you went last. So no, I'll go. I'll go.
Okay.
I'll go. My honorable mention is going to be I am actually gonna go with Les for my honorable mention. So it was between Les and The Martian. I wanted to put Les on there because for me Les was kind of I believe it was the first book we read this year that was in that like insightful, close to reality kind of fiction book that we've done, and it is one that hit home for me as far as like just how can someone tell a good fiction story without like swords and action and stuff. So, yeah, less was more than less for me.
That's fair enough.
I will pick
Like I
Adam.
said in my mention there. Yeah,
Yes.
like I said in my mention, it's a good book. It just didn't jive with me.
Hmm.
So
Yep. For me, it did. I think my redeeming quality for it is I'm not as a stickler, and I don't mind the wandering plot as long as like the journey is worth it, right? It's the radiance quote, right? So
journey destination.
that's right. That's right. So, anyways, I'm gonna pick Adam on this one.
Yeah, my honorable mention is going to be Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. For those of you living under a rock, from the publisher, Harry Potter has never even heard of Hogwarts. When the letters start dropping on the doormat at number 4 Privet Drive, addressed in green ink on yellowish parchment with a purple seal, they are swiftly confiscated by his gristly aunt and uncle. Then, on Harry's 11th birthday, a great beetle-eyed giant of a man called Rubius Hagrid bursts in with some astonishing news. Harry Potter is a wizard, and he has a place at Hogwarts, School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and an incredible adventure is about to begin. But anyway, reasoning for it being my honorable mention is this book is the book that got me into reading as a child.
That's
You know,
awesome.
I distinctly remember, and this is a big deal for me because I'm terrible with remembering things. I distinctly remember the moment I discovered this novel in my closet while I was supposed to be cleaning my room, and instead decided to read it. It's the novel that started me off on that binge of I've got to get the next one. I've got to keep reading. I've got to see what else is out there for me to experience in the world of fiction novels, and it has always held a special place in my heart. So honorable mention it be.
Nice.
Alex, I believe that leaves you for honorable mention.
Well, I actually considered, Harry Potter as my honorable mention for similar reasons as being the book that got me into books. But my honorable mention this year is actually going to be A Psalm for the Wild Built. Um, it is the one that we did for the books we're thankful for. And being one of the things that helped me get through a pretty dark time along with the show, it holds a special place in my heart in that regard. And it was really nice sharing with everybody. And the general premise is, it's been centuries since the robots of Panga gained self-awareness and laid down their tools, centuries since they wandered into the wilderness, never to be seen again, centuries since they faded into myth and urban legend. One day, the life of a tea monk is upended by the arrival of a robot, there to honor the promise of checking in. The robot cannot go back until the question of what do people need is answered. But the answer to that question depends on who you ask and how. They're going to need to ask it a lot. This is Becky Chambers' new series, and it asks, in a world where people have what they want, does having more matter? So I think there were a lot of questions in this book that were being asked of other people that it forced me to kind of ask myself in both direct ways, but also in a way that kind of detached me from the day-to-day stuff. Like I had to look at what would this look like if I had all the things that I think that I want? How would I answer this question? And I think it provided a very unique setting for some stuff that I was going through that I don't know that I would have necessarily come up with on my own, or at least not in a way that was as helpful as it was to read this book. I thought it was I loved the little bits of humor, the fun within it, the fact that it is this high-flung sci-fi, but it feels so relatable and down to earth at the same time, or down to Panga as it might be. And little known fact, I'm playing as a part of a D&D campaign, and both Dex and Why am I blanking on his name? The robot. Um,
Uh, it's oh man, Wildflower? No.
no, no, it's a
Um,
mushroom related name.
Oh
It's
no.
it was spectacular. It was like spectacular speckled something cap. Uh,
Mushroom Cat?
why?
I don't know.
No.
It's in our chats. But anyways, continue on. I'll find it
Uh,
as you talk.
Moss Cat.
Moss Cap.
Moss
Yeah.
cap. That's the one. Yeah. Uh, so those two characters kind of blended to become a character that I have become very fond of in the D&D campaign that I'm a part of. And it's been I love stories that beget other stories, and that's kind of what's happening in my own life with this book. So that's what takes it to that honorable mention level above Harry. I wouldn't say above Harry Potter, but it's the one I'm choosing.
That's fair. That is a book I thoroughly enjoyed. I I found that to be nice and short, but like very impactful, asking very interesting questions that I don't know. I think a lot of people need to read that book. I think that's
Mhm.
a book that I think everybody could use like one pass at least. So
It only takes 4 hours of time to get
that's
through.
right.
Through the audiobook anyway.
Yeah.
If you're a fast reader,
Yeah.
you might go even faster than that.
Yep.
Why don't you bring us home on the honorable mentions round there?
That was it.
Or wait,
That was all
oh, it
three.
is.
Yep, that
Ah,
was it. That
that's
was it.
right.
It's Adam's.
I'm totally with it.
It's Adam's turn to go first, I believe.
Do we
Yes. So,
did we want to do favorite side piece next,
oh
or
yeah,
did we want to go to favorite
let's
overall
do favorite
story?
side pieces.
Sure.
Side piece. Side piece.
Okay. Okay. So so my favorite side piece was a Brando Sando novel.
Surprise.
See, it got in there.
No way. Yeah, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter was an excellent tale that Brandon Sanderson wrote originally for his wife during COVID, and he ended up publishing it and released it this year in his special secret novels Kickstarter campaign, which I was fortunately part of. Yes. um, it tells the story of two different uh, experiences, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. One living on a world that is constantly hot, and the other in constant darkness. They take turns traveling between each other's worlds and experiencing what life is like for the other. And it is, um, in my opinion, something that Brandon Sanderson does not do very often. It is a character centric novel instead of a world centric novel. And you get really meaningful insights into the lives of the two main characters. And you get to watch as they grow as people and understand what life is like for people that aren't them. And the ending, in my opinion, is something something special. You really feel connected to the characters by the end of the story, and what they go through really impacts you. So it was, in my opinion, the best of the four secret novels that Brando Sando released. I can totally see why he wrote it for his wife. But Alan, you want to go next? Favorite side
Sure.
piece?
Yeah. It's a Brando Sando book. And so I started last year into the Mistborn series, and I finished Era 2 this year. Um, I thoroughly enjoyed Era 2, and Lost Metal was, I think, my favorite side piece this year. It's a pretty darn close race. I've been rocking the Superpowered series as well. But I thoroughly enjoy Wayne and Wax in Era 2, and I believe um, Lost Metal was the best of their books, and it was a fantastic and in many times beautiful book. And yeah, I very much enjoyed it. Um, yeah, Alex.
Well, I think for my part, one of the things I liked about this year, we were talking about trends a little bit. I think more than any other year, I felt compelled to read the rest of the series on these books when there was a series of them. Um, so I can't give like a best side piece without mentioning my favorite follow-up book, which is kind of a tie between things, but if I'm forced to, gun to my head, forced to choose, I liked the fourth installment of We Are Legion, We Are Bob. Uh, like,
Nice.
it is. I think that is a series, and one of the reasons why it's my favorite side piece is it was a series where the first book was very good, missed some points that could have made it way better, like truly brought it to that top tier, but it didn't quite. And it's a series that finds its way as it goes. It starts asking and answering questions that I had at the beginning. It takes new perspectives. Some of it is a little, maybe a little watered down than it necessarily has to be, and because there's only so much of the science you can actually know, there's only so much of like the implications of a interstellar society that we've never explored. But I think the introduction of new species and this kind of juxtaposing humanity with these other species that are not basically just like humans with ridges on their foreheads and an anger problem. Um, like I think it was the book that made me think like, okay, there's some universal truths out there, but there's some things that, because there's things that transcend humanity, but there's also things that are very, very different. I think the thing that makes this book stand out above, say, Superpowered for like part 4, which was the other side piece I was considering, is there was a line that stuck with me when there's these like otter or platypus alien race that Bob meets, and there's a character in there where that Bob has a discussion with, and they're talking about the golden rule. As Bob sees it, the golden rule is treat others the way you want to be treated. But for their society, that's the silver rule. The golden rule is to treat others the way they want to be treated.
Ooh.
And that hit home so hard. Like, I was just like, yeah, okay. Like that's a good way to like show that there's something universal to the things that we think, but there might be something beyond it or a way we haven't considered it. And it kind of brought a little depth to like a very fun, expansive sci-fi. And so I think that was my favorite side piece, like especially favorite like follow-up. So, but I would honestly recommend any of the full series that we read. I don't think there were. I'm pretty sure that I read every single book in any one that had a series. So, except
Nice.
for Color of Magic, which I'm Discworld
That's
is a huge
massive.
series Discworld is such a huge series, and I'm only just getting started. But
20,
um,
20 plus books. It's crazy.
Yeah. There's a
yep,
convenient map if you need it.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, yeah.
I very much saw that as well. But aside from that one, which we haven't really gotten into yet, I've read all of the potential follow-ups to these, and there's a lot of great ones. So it was fun to have that as a part of this experience. Is seeing more of them. I had a lot of great side pieces this year, though, and I was trying to throw one in there that wasn't Brandon Sanderson, because guess who also reread Mistborn? And it would be very easy to pick that, but because it's a
I
great
mean, when he
series.
when he finishes the series this year, you kind of gotta, right?
Twist my arm, why don't you?
I'm sure next year my favorite side piece will be whatever he calls book 5 of Stormlight.
That's right. That's right. It's got to be a reflection, right? Cuz he does reflections of the titles, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't
Uh,
remember what letters these ones need to be.
um, so the tentative title was Knights of the Wind something. I forget what it was, but it was just a working title.
Gotcha. Nice.
What nerds we are that we are predicting an author's book titles based on patterns that.
No. It's been discussed by Brandon that.
Yeah, I'm aware, but like the fact that we know that, like that's still a deep cut. You realize that, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't watch his weekly updates. What are you talking about? I watch his weekly updates the day they come out.
Oh man.
Shall we move on to best of the year?
Yes.
All right,
so.
favorites.
Who wants to go first? Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
All right.
I'm not secretly trying to
So-
narrow mine down right now.
You know, this was a really tough choice. I went back and forth a couple times on this, but for me, one novel or one book had me gripped from start to finish. Couldn't put it down kind of book. Had everything I'm looking for in a book and then some. And, I would rate it right up there with any Brando Sando novel. For me,
High praise.
the top book was The Martian by Andy Weir.
Ooh.
Story the story following Mark Watney as he is abandoned on Mars and fights for survival and escape back to Earth. Like I said, it gripped me from start to finish. I couldn't put it down. Something I look for in a story is something that grabs you by the emotions and won't let go, and then really smacks you down and makes you feel something, right? And for me, The Martian is exactly that. It's high suspense throughout the entire thing. You never know what's going to happen next. And Weir did a great job of taking something that nobody has ever experienced and making it feel real. The science in the story, with a couple of exceptions, which we talked about during the show for the review of this book. The science is spot on, exactly what you would expect in that scenario, and it felt real. Obviously, the world is real because it's Mars. The characters are, relatable and interesting, and despite the fact that it primarily focuses around one character, you do get to know other characters through Mark's experience with his time on Mars. And just overall, I thought it was an excellent story. Who wants next?
Your choice, man.
There. One of you go.
Choose.
You choose. Choose our fate, Adam.
All right, Alan, take it
Oh,
away.
dang it. Damn you. Damn you. Oh.
You have to share your opinions.
Oh, man. Well, you made it a little easier by saying The Martian. The game I've been kind of playing because it's been such a hard year is I'm trying not to repeat books. Uh, because I did have a lot of favorites this year. Um, I'm going to say my top book, and I'm gonna regret it saying it because then I'll be like, oh wait, there's another book I really want. But honestly, if I'm really honest with myself, I really enjoyed Superpowers Year One. Uh, this was by Drew Hayes, and it follows a group of teens that enter their freshman year of college and also their first year in the HCP, the Hero Certification Program, I believe is what HCP stands for. And they are learning to navigate how to become or how to be supers as they have never been that before. So, I really, really enjoyed the book. It gave me a want to read the follow up stories. I am chugging along on those. The stories get significantly longer the more and more you get into them. But really good character development, great world building, has a realistic hero's impact on the real world, and the real world's impact on that hero. Uh, Stories that are kind of similar conflicts would be The Boys, Invincible. Uh, that's kind of the genre it kind of lands in. It's a little more lighthearted, but otherwise, great book. And I'm going to say, final answer, that is my favorite this year. Alex.
All right.
Yeah, definitely a fun book to read, and a reason why, like, in my side pieces, the fourth book of that was very much in consideration for my favorite side piece, so I get it. Funny enough, I think we're going to be doing no repeats across the board. My favorite book this year was Uprooted by Naomi Novik.
Ooh, really?
So, before I get into the why, I will preface this by saying I was the only one in the group not to be bothered by the reading of the audiobook. So I'm assuming that partially explains why that didn't end up on anybody's list prior to me.
Yeah, probably. Adam?
Adam's frozen, I think. Maybe?
No, I think he's just filled with disgust.
But if you take that, but I'm also the only person who read the book without the audio. So I have that perspective as well, and I do get how that can change the experience for some people, and it's legitimate. But the general premise of the book is Agnieszka loves her valley home and her quiet village, the forest and the bright shining river, but the corrupted wood stands on the border full of malevolent power, and its shadow lies over her life. Her people rely on the cold, driven wizard known only as the Dragon to keep its powers at bay, but he demands a terrible price for his help. One young woman handed over to serve him for 10 years, a fate almost as terrible as falling to the wood. The next choosing is fast approaching, and Agnieszka is afraid. Everyone knows that the dragon will take Kasia. Beautiful, graceful, brave Kasia. All the things Agnieszka isn't, and her dearest friend in the world, and there's no way to save her. But Agnieszka fears for the wrong things. For when the dragon comes, it's not Kasia he will choose. So, rest of the general premise is finds out that he chooses by either a whim, but ideally the possibility of being able to use magic, and eventually tries to teach her magic, but realizes she's more sorcerer, less wizard. For those who follow D&D logic,
Druid. You're a druid.
Yeah, like her power. Well, her power comes from her.
Yeah.
Right, like less the nature of it all.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, like a little bit in there, but it's not like come from study type of power.
No, certainly not. Yeah.
And maybe because Drew is my favorite subclass, I might have a little bit of a bias. But ultimately, this was a story that, for me, hit all the right points. You have a character who goes through very believable yet significant character growth. The characters around her do. There's this epic fantasy to it. There is lore galore everywhere. And I've always been a big fan of like folk tales and stuff, so I love that folk tale vibe. And taking that and moving in between the hominess and personability of a folk tale into these grand fantasy ideas and back again, and doing it so smoothly and effortlessly, I think is ultimately going
what? Oh no.
The suspense.
The suspense. Oh, he's back. He's back. He's back.
It's been doing this all night, and I've had to patchwork what I've been hearing from you guys. But where did I leave off?
Ultimately going.
Yep.
Well, ultimately, this is what puts it over the top for me, is that ability to move between these like very homey folklore type settings, and the use of imagery is, I think, one of the best that we've seen in any of the books that we've read. The character I like it, like our main character Agnieszka is very believable as that kind of hapless country girl to begin with, but her growth into something bigger feels realistic. She keeps core parts of herself that fit throughout, and it would be very easy to just be like 90s rom-com, take the glasses off and now she's pretty with
she
this.
Had a glow up.
And there was, yeah, but there's none of that. Like, it's all earned. She has to fight for it. Like, I like also that they took the dickish wizard that doesn't explain anything, and she gets to come around and say, hey, you're an idiot for continuing to teach me like this. And it's not like it was justified in the end. No, he didn't understand something and just didn't feel like explaining. And he gets called out for it. Like, that's something like I've wished to happen in so many fantasy books that just never has. And it was like a very vindicative moment for me. And I like the side characters. They both feel like your typical, like they hit the trope marks without being overly so. Like, that's kind of how folklore is. Everybody has to be something of a caricature, but even in those caricatures there's a little bit of depth. Like Kasia, she is this like she's the epitome of womanhood for for her village in every way. She's smart, she's capable, and whatnot. And like she goes through a traumatic experience, and she keeps that kind of steadfast strength to her, but also allows herself to become somebody entirely different.
Well said.
So, for like both of you, I could have picked like many of these books and made an absolutely fine case for it being the best.
Yeah.
All three of the ones that you picked were ones that I considered at some point, uh, along with like I know Song for the Wild Built was. I was trying to remove myself from the nostalgia factor there and not put it at the top because it would be very easy to just put it there. But I think this year in general has been about challenging ourselves a little in what
Yeah.
we're reading, and so I tried to do the same in creating my list.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like this year was a big growth year. I think we read books that probably were outside of our wheelhouse for at least one of us, right? So if we were just doing the three of us, I don't think I ever would have picked up Psalm of the Wild Built, but I thoroughly enjoyed the crap out of that book. So like you know, but yeah,
Oh, and I never would have known about Superpowers or We Are Legion, We Are Bob, and
right,
like those series, like as a series, were fucking fantastic.
yeah,
And I never would have known about that if not for you guys. And I believe, I believe we have to shout out LPAC fan for
yep.
recommending one, if not both, of those series.
Nah, he had superpowered. My buddy Cam,
Oh
he
yeah,
told
so
us
both of
about
them.
yeah,
I knew they both came from outside of like us
yeah,
three, which I love because it
yeah,
literally is somebody else coming in. Like that's what we really want to build this into is like
yeah,
where we might have like a tiebreaker type of authority, but ultimately we'd love to have those of you out there viewing being the ones picking the books, both the ones that end up in our like we might make the
proposing and
list,
yeah,
but like we might pick the final three, but ultimately we want you picking the list we're choosing from and the final one.
yeah,
We're just kind of in the middle to create a focus for you guys, and I really enjoyed the fact that we got some great suggestions from outside of our group.
yeah. I think
Uh,
I think it's a little late in the video to say this, but I think that uh, you know thanks is to be given to our viewers for proposing those books and for proposing the books in the past and for proposing books in the future. And if you guys have um, any books that you want to see us talk about and read and react to, hit us up. Let us know what books we should be reading. They have to be in the 800s in fiction. But otherwise, make sure to let us know because we want to grow outside of what we've read. Um, and we want to get outside the comfort zone and try some new things. I know our February vote is coming up, if I remember correctly.
yep.
So I think it's actually out right now. So if you see this, and well, regardless of when you see this, go check out our Patreon. Uh, we do a free vote once a year, so you can watch for that. Otherwise, join up. It's $2 a month, and you can vote and help us choose the books. And but it's always free to suggest. Feel free to hit us up on our socials, hit us up on the YouTube comments, or catch us while we're streaming live and let us know then. Uh, yeah, we're super excited to hear from you guys on what books we should be reading.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, I
That's
believe the book we're. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's what we constantly say on this show is what makes it special is that it gets us out of our wheelhouse and lets us experience books that we never would have thought to experience before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep, and I believe that our book that we're reading for our final one for the year was actually a suggestion from outside of us as well, from my friend Cassie.
Ooh.
So thank you, Cassie, for that. Start finishing the year on that note, and
The Color of Magic was Cassie?
Yeah,
yep.
Oh, very
says
cool.
Alex's friend Cassie
I
on
mean,
there.
it's one that I've been wanting to read for
Yeah.
forever, but like she's the one who put it in my head. So
It is so like there's a list and this is my secret like plan, right? Is there's a list at the end of the D&D books of D&D inspiration, and they're just tons of like fantasy novels that I have always wanted to read. Color of Magic is one of those books on that list and has been kind of a book I've wanted to read. I was super excited to read it. It didn't make my top and it didn't make honorable mention, but it is a crazy respectable book and super enjoyed it. So, yeah. Thank you Cassie for proposing that book.
yeah, thank you.
And super silly.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to review it. I know that's coming up in a little bit. I can't wait to review that book.
Yeah, I remember this coming up as a suggestion because I was talking about my love for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and she
Oh
was
yeah.
like, "You know what? If you like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, do you like, And she knew I liked fantasy, so she was like, "If you like that and you like fantasy, smash them together, boom, Color of Magic, Discworld series, go for it." And it's also kind of like semi sci-fi too,
Yeah.
and
Yep. Yeah.
uh, yeah, so like I think you're absolutely right to thank our dear viewers or viewer, depending on the day.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, no, nothing wrong with that. I mean, we do this because we have fun, but like every time that we have interactions with other people, it kind of lends a special quality to what we read and the discussion of it. So we're looking forward to more of that in the
Absolutely.
coming year.
Absolutely. I like to think of this as a book club. And so the more people we can bring into the book club, the better. So, um, you know, and you know, I want people to know that you don't have to read the books to enjoy the conversation, or you don't have to finish them, and or you don't have to like them. When we have conversations, and this is something I see when we're kind of live, right? We'll have regulars that don't show up because they didn't like the book, and uh, you know, I like having the difference of opinion as long as it's respectable. Following in Alex's mantra of "be nice or fuck off." I like
Hey, that's
having
all
those.
of our mantra. That
It
is
is. It
the
is.
show mantra.
Yes,
I
but
say it, but it belongeth not to me.
exactly. I think having these differences of opinions and having different favorites and different least favorites, it's so important. And that's I like doing these end of the year shows because I want to see where we're differing, right? And I
Yeah.
I think it's really enjoyable to kind of have that. So, thanks.
And yeah, I agree completely. And I think it's nice that we've found a forum in a world where differing opinions lead to the dissolution of conversation and discussion. We've found a forum where we can have differing opinions, treat each other with respect, and come out the other end with insights we might not have had otherwise, whether we agree or disagree with them. And I think it has been helpful in and outside of this book club.
Yeah.
Any sage thoughts from you for the year, Adam?
Happy holidays, and thank you for being a part of our show.
Yeah. Do you guys have any side pieces that you look forward to next year? Do you have any that are on your list of, like, I have to read it?
Stormlight 5.
Stormlight 5?
It
Does it come out next year?
should come out at the end of next year.
Okay. Mine is, what is it? The Narrow Road, the new Pat Rothfuss novella.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
I get the two novella names mixed up. I think it's the Narrow Road of something. Narrow Road Between Desires. So
Narrow road between his.
yep, that is on
Yeah.
my list this year. I want to read it. I intend to physically read it because I did physically read the others. You know what though? I have to if I'm gonna if I am going to read The Narrow Road Between Desires, I have to actually read the Slow Regard of Things. I think that's what it's called. It's up there, but I started it and then got busy and didn't finish it, so I need to finish it. So it sounds like a King Killer Chronicle reread year. That's what it sounds like to me.
Mayhap.
Mayhaps, indeed. Alex?
I'm honestly looking forward to delving into the Discworld series in a more
Ooh, yeah.
deep level. Like I really like I don't know that I'm gonna get through all 20 some odd that there are, but I feel like I've found another series where I'm gonna go until it hurts to keep reading them.
Yes, go until you burn out. Yeah. Yeah. What is it? Magic
like I think I did
2.0
the same thing
series.
with like Magic 2.0.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yep.
So and also looking forward to both of the ones that you are as well. Like that, those are definitely on my list, and I fully intend to dive into those.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we wrap it up here? Let's see here. You can, like I said at the start of the show, you can check out more information on DM's Table over at our Etsy or what have you. But the best place to go for the collection of all the information about the DM's Table and all the things we do is at dmstable.com. Go check it out. Go see what we're doing now, and yeah, join the community. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Otherwise, yeah, go vote, and thank you so much for joining us this year. Thank you so much for watching this far into the video, and we really appreciate you. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Happy whatever holidays you celebrate or don't celebrate. We're grateful for you all, and we'll see you next year, and we'll see you next book.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us tonight, or whatever time of day it is when you're watching us.
Yes.
It's night now.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you for watching, and if you're part of our Patreon, thank you for supporting us throughout the years. We hope to share many more book with you in the future.
Indeed. All right. Bye, guys. See ya.
Cheers.
Cheers.